Hello and welcome to your region this week. I'm Anandi Kara-Woolery. A lot has gone on over the past week in the region, so let's get started. First, we take a look at the provincial review and whether or not the region will be amalgamated. We spoke with the mayors of Waterloo and Kitchener on where their cities stand.
I knocked on a lot of doors during the election period, and so did my councillors. And I can tell you, nobody said, gee, I wish I had a new governance model. Gee, I wished in the city the size of Mississauga. At this point in time, there's been no study done. It's simply an open-ended question. What do you think? And so using my background experience, I've been able to leverage that to say, you know what, I have the business perspective. I know why business mergers work, and I know why a lot of those ideas don't apply to government. And then in City of Cambridge, that's a great example where you can do an amalgamation where you have one big city like Toronto or Sudbury or Ottawa, where that's the big city, and you have a whole bunch of little places around it. Here, Cambridge, it was a merger of equals, Galt, Preston, Hespeler, and you can see how well that worked. Still, 2 generations later, people still have that feel of lost identity.
Well, really, we haven't taken a stance as a city. We were more interested in hearing what residents feel, and so we decided to take an environic survey. The survey is actually statistically significant, plus or minus, I believe, about 4%. And generally speaking, the residents, about 80% of them, are quite comfortable with the current level of governance in the city, and believe that, if anything, our focus should be on making sure that we continue to deliver services effectively, as well as ensure that the community continues to be a welcoming city for everyone. You know, I think it's important to remember this regional review was not about amalgamation. This regional review was about looking at service delivery, looking at composition of councils, and looking at structure of government. And so amalgamation is just one small piece of that. And I think, you know, for your viewing audience, what's important is looking at all 3 of those aspects. And the fact that in the City of Kitchener, a statistically significant environic survey has said that service delivery and quality of life and representation are the 3 main areas that residents in Kitchener are concerned with.
Last Tuesday, a flag-raising ceremony was held to celebrate Community Living Month in Brantford. Let's take a look at the highlights of the event.
So, Community Living Brand is a member of our provincial organization, Community Living Ontario, and every year over the province we celebrate Community Living Month, which is an opportunity for all of our communities to recognize the contributions and successes of people who have a developmental disability and their contributions to their community through work, through volunteering, and giving back. So this is an opportunity for us to work with the city to recognize those contributions and the inclusion of people with disabilities across not only the city of Brantford and Brant County, but the province of Ontario.
The work that these organizations are doing, you know, a lot of the people who are doing the work, they're not doing it for any sort of recognition, but it is incredibly important that the community comes together and we do provide recognition of the hard work that they do and, you know, the incredible work that they're doing in our community. And I just wanted to come out, I wanted to meet some of the people, and, you know, as a new council person, this was one of, you know, the first opportunities I had to see something that we proclaimed kind of come into action. And I mean, I've been to flag raising ceremonies before, but it's a little bit different now. So I'm just really excited to be here, and it's nice to just, again, recognize the work that these organizations are doing.
And what's also wonderful is it's not just Community Living Brantford, Brant, but it's also Six Nations Community Living. And it's something that I emphasize whenever I go throughout the community. It's working together. And this is a great example of that happening.
I'm sure, as most of you heard, an Amber Alert was broadcasted early Tuesday morning. The announcement was about 3-year-old William Gooden, who police suspected had been abducted by his mother, Brianna Gooden. After the Amber Alert, police were able to track down and find the child and his mother. This, however, didn't matter to the many calls police received to 911 complaining about the alert. Waterloo Regional Police spoke with us about how this can negatively impact the police finding the child.
Waterloo Regional Police would just like to remind residents that 911 is only used for emergencies. Our communications center has received a number of calls this morning regarding the recent Amber Alert. This does impose a risk to individuals calling 911 in a state of emergency. If the lines are used up, we may not be able to get to those people in need.
If I can speak to those 60 individuals who called 911, you're actually making it more challenging for us to find these missing children. You're making it more challenging for the police officers to do their jobs. Please do not call 911 unless you know it is an emergency.
I saw the Amber Alert. I was like, well, I was on that bus going from Sudbury to Toronto. What are the chances? So I looked it up and I saw the photos and I said, I think that's the kid from my bus. So I re-looked at the Amber Alert and I said, okay, I might as well call the police.
Yeah, if the details within the Amber Alert indicate that to call 911 immediately, if they have spot somebody who they believe is the suspect involved in the Amber Alert, please feel free to call 911 at that time. Also the non-emergency line, if some people have information, you can call your local police service with information regarding a spot or a sighting or having any information about the Amber Alert.
Remember, unless it is an emergency or if you have information on the whereabouts of the child, please do not call 911. Your region this week will continue in 2 minutes. See you then. Welcome back. On Wednesday, athletes from all fields and styles of sport were signed to professional teams across the continent. Rogers TV was at the Rise Centre in Brantford to capture these unforgettable moments.
Presenting combo guard 6'4" from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, committed to St. Joseph's University from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Ramir Moore.
It's definitely a great experience and a great feeling. Because, you know, coming from a suburban area, growing up, it was tough. My mom didn't have a job, so it was really rough for me. And then Kyle, my brother-in-law, Kyle Lowry, brought me here, so it's definitely a great experience for me. First off, I would like to thank Jim and Robin for giving me a place to call home. I would also like to thank my teammates for being there for me. I would like to thank the Rise community for being there. I'd like to thank Coach Jay. Oh, man, we had some rough battles, but he was always there.
And now from TRC Academy Men's Hockey, presenting offensive defenseman 6'0" from Brantford, Ontario, and drafted by the OHL's Saginaw Spirit, Saginaw, Michigan, Cole Hipkin.
Yeah, it's a great honor. Been drafted by a great organization, and yeah, it's only one step and one piece to the pie, and you know. The main goal is to get to the pro leagues, and it's just one step. First off, I'd like to thank Jim and Robin and the TRC community here. I'd also like to thank Dan for having me here this year and you know, helping me through this whole year. And I'd like to thank my parents for doing everything for me throughout my hockey career. And I'd also like to thank the Saginaw Spirit for drafting me this year.
Presenting power forward 6'6" from Mississauga, Ontario, committed to the University of Guelph, Ontario, Victor Nazidis.
It feels really good, like finally getting to the end, finally having a school that believes in you. My plan right now is to get on the team, work hard, hopefully have an outstanding season next year, and then after that, after my 4 years, hopefully play overseas. I'd like to thank my coaches, Coach TV and Coach Jay, both of them. Coach Jay for recruiting me to this program, and Coach TV for developing me into the player I am today.
Next, we take a look at what action is happening in the region with 519 Sports Online.
The under 14 girls from the KW Water Polo Club playing for a gold medal on Sunday at the Eastern Canadian Championship. The Kraken girls facing St. Lambert, Quebec in the final, and here is the prize they are playing for. Opening period, St. Lambert strikes first. Tiffany Marcille finding the back of the net. She gives the girls from Quebec a 1-0 lead. Under a minute later, how about this effort by Charlie Willis? She has a defender in her face, but that's no problem for Willis. She gets it over the goaltender and ties the game. Great goal there from Willis. We are knotted at 1. More KW offense. It's Karima Alosi taking the pass. A floater, and she scores. KW has their first lead of the game. It's 2-1. Still in the first, Lillian Wheatley with a defender draped all over her, turns, scores. Wheatley extending the KW lead. It's 3-1 after 1. Second period, it's a lead pass for Charlie Willis, and she is fouled. That gives KW a penalty shot from the 5-meter line. Sarah Alexander taking the shot, and she makes no mistake. Kraken reeling off 4 straight goals, and they take a 4-1 lead. St. Lambert looking to close the gap. Some nice passing here. Elizabeth Robert finishes it off as she goes upstairs. It's 4-2. At the other end, Emmanuelle Lavoie-Lamy with the ball. Her shot off the post and in. The 3-goal lead is restored. Kraken is up 5-2. Still in the second. How good is this pass? Sarah Alexander to Karima Alosi, and she scores her second goal of the afternoon. KW looking strong with a 6-2 advantage. Meanwhile, Mabel Gibson coming through between the pipes. She's been solid all season long, and she had another terrific game on Sunday. 7-2 KW at the half. Third quarter, Lillian Wheatley ahead to Sarah Alexander. She swims in and puts it in. Alexander giving Kraken a 6-goal lead. A little later, this time it's Alexander setting up Wheatley, and the KW offense firing on all cylinders. They are in control with a 9-3 lead as we move to the fourth. Here comes Charlie Willis. She flips it over to Alexander, a little bobble, then she buries it. KW with an outstanding effort in the gold medal game, and as time expires, KW celebrating. The coaches jumping into the pool. What a season for the U14 Kraken girls. First, a provincial title, and on Sunday, they win the Eastern Canadian Championship, KW beating St. Lambert by a final score of 10-6, and the girls receiving their gold medals. Our post-game comments begin with Sarah Alexander, who scored 2 goals in the championship game.
I think as a team, we all did great defense. We would counter up the pool, see who's open, pass the ball, and it would work amazing.
It feels great. We worked so hard this year, and we really bonded together as a team, and it was great. And for a lot of us, it was our final year in under 14, so it was a really great way to end off the whole season.
I think I'm really proud of our whole team because it was a team effort to win this whole thing.
More of Your Region This Week continues after the break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. The Waterloo Regional Police are facing a shortfall of more than $800,000 in their budget after provincial cuts. 570 News' Mike Farwell chats with the Waterloo Regional Police Chief Brian Larkin about what they plan on doing next.
On the 570 Morning News with our reporter Mark Perry. The Waterloo Regional Police Service is facing a near $1 million shortfall after some provincial grants were cut from their projected budget. It's about $800,000 overall, and we endeavor to learn what that means for policing in our community. Chief Brian Larkin joins us. Good morning, Chief.
Good morning, Mike, and thanks for having me on this morning.
We certainly appreciate your time, as always. How did you learn about these changes to grants that would affect your budget?
Well, we were aware that the province was looking at revamping police service grants. The Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police had been working with government, and on April 18th, excuse me, Mike, on April 18th, we were advised of the changes. And so previously we would receive about $3.3 million annually. And on April 18th, we were advised that locally we would have an envelope of about $2.2 million, which we still need to apply for. That's not guaranteed funding. And that previously any violence grants and a couple of other grants were being eliminated and phased out. So in the short term, the $800,000 is the immediate impact on us. And there's two streams. There's a local application process, and then there's a secondary provincial priority focus where there's about $3.9 million provincially across all police services to apply for around sexual assault investigations, guns and gangs investigations, as well as human trafficking. So we were aware that there was some changes coming. Obviously, surprised at the reduction in some ways. We knew potentially there would be a different approach, but the challenge is we set our budget in December of 2018, looking towards 2019, and equally I'm very concerned about all of the other impacts on social services, public health, because often those reductions lead to enhanced demand on policing.
Does this impact frontline policing in any way? Will we feel the effects of this in terms of what our police service can provide to us in the community?
Well, it's too early to tell, Mike. Obviously, we're in a grant process, and my commitment to the community, my commitment to our members, my commitment to the Police Services Board is that we're pulling together an aggressive grant application process. We're going to put together a demand for what we deserve, we believe our members and our community and our citizens deserve. And so after the grant application process, where we land, I'll know better, and we'll develop a financial strategy to ensure that we can get to the end of the year without impacting any services. When 90% of our budget is human-based, it's people-based, it leaves 10% to maneuver around equipment and different projects and different expenditures. So too early to tell, but again, I want to also recognize that when you start impacting public health and health services, education services, and social services, eventually policing is the 24/7, 7-day-a-week organization, and we end up dealing with some of those fallouts as well.
So as it stands today, Chief, given this $800,000 reduction in what you were hoping for in terms of grants, where do you go and when will you learn what of the other grants you're able to get, and et cetera? Is there an application process that is underway right now?
Yeah, so we're currently involved. We have a working group, a team internally led by our planning team, working with our operational leaders and our operational frontline people to access the $2.2 million locally. And those grants are due June 2nd, so those applications are due June 2nd. We're also advocating on behalf of our service around the provincial priorities, around guns and gangs, human trafficking, and sexual violence. Those things are very important to us locally. We've been impacted by all three. So we're trying to get our portion of the $3.9 million. And in fairness, I do want to be fair. We did also receive, though, a surplus, and we received an enhanced grant around providing court security at 85 Frederick. And so the province does provide an annual grant, and that was increased by about $500,000. So, want to be fair. We weren't anticipating that. Our courthouse has become a regional courthouse, so we see a lot of trials coming from outside our community, from the GTA, from southwestern Ontario, because we're a state-of-the-art justice facility. We see a lot of external trials in our community, and so the province did recognize that and did increase funding.
Chief Larkin, your time is always appreciated. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Mike. All the best, and keep up the great work on the Farwell for Hire, and just want to continue to support the great work that you do in our community.
I certainly appreciate that as well. Have a great day.
Thanks, Mike. All the best.
Waterloo Regional Police Chief Brian Larkin.
After the break, we see the moment when Guelph finally climbed their way to the top of the OHL playoffs. Your Region This Week continues right after this. Welcome back. The Guelph Storm seemed to do the impossible by climbing their way back to the top, deficit after deficit. Let's see the moments of when Guelph knew they were headed to Halifax.
And there it is, a team of resilience, a team of destiny. The Guelph Storm are your 2018-19 OHL champs. The comeback kids do it again. In fine style at home, the J. Ross Robertson Cup champs.
I would like to call upon Isaac Ratcliffe. Isaac.
Everything's coming at us right now. I think we're just so excited with this win today. I mean, the way we've come together in these short few months here is unbelievable. The guys have joined the team. I mean, they've shown nothing but class to this city, to our fans. I mean, to themselves and in the locker room as well. So we're just so happy with this.
It's indeed an honor and a privilege to present the MVP award to this year's recipient, setting a franchise record of 42 playoff points. Nick Suzuki.
Just coming in this group was amazing to us, and being so close, and yeah, it's probably the closest team I've ever been a part of yet.
Well, I thought we were a little nervous, a few bumps in the road early. We got some breaks, we got a bunch of goals. We played the way we can in the second period, and nice to finally come out on top. They had their great chances, but it wasn't an 8-3 hockey game, but we'll take it.
You know, a few years ago when this team was struggling and rebuilding, I mean, did it ever seem it was going to get better?
At times, no. At times, yes. I mean, when you're in a rebuilding stage, things like that are going to happen, but again, you just got to believe in the group of guys you got, and again, with Schnarzy and Roddy being here for 4 years, it's pretty special to win this with them.
You know, I have to just compliments to the staff. You know, George and his staff did a great job, and that group of players, the most resilient group of players, perhaps in the history of the league. They'll be talking about this team for a long time. Hopefully we're not done, but this was one heck of a ride to get to here for sure.
Final score, the Guelph Storm 8-3 victors over the Ottawa 67s. They win the OHL championship in 6 games on home ice. They have punched their ticket to the 2019 Memorial Cup in Halifax.
That wraps up this week's episode of Your Region This Week. If you'd like more information on the show, visit our website, rogerstv.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.